Coming up on Unscripted Faith, after 3 decades in Fortune 500 leadership, my guest, Preston Poore, reminds us it's not the accomplishments that define you, it's how you lead. Plus, Frederick from Fierce Marriage joins us to share why his new children's book had to be written. It's an eye-opening episode. You won't want to miss it. Let's go. Welcome to Unscripted Faith. I am so excited you chose to join me today. I am confident these conversations are going to spur you forward in your relationship with Lord and your relationship with others. My first guest today has a passion for talking about all things marriage. Together with his wife, and he founded the Fierce Marriage website and podcast, encouraging couples to treasure Christ and love their families. But recently, he realized there was still something more, something missing. Ryan, welcome to Unscripted Faith.
Hi, thank you so much for having me. It's a joy to be here.
We are so excited that you chose to join us today. And you've been passionate about marriage. You and your wife have been doing this podcast thing and really encouraging people to love Christ and love one another well. But now you have a new passion that the Lord has placed on your heart that is really shaping how you're living and your purpose in this season. Share that with us.
Yeah, so I wrote these books, right? So my wife and I have 4 daughters, and it's funny how your life changes when you have kids. But then, as a dad of daughters, everything changes extra wonderfully, I'll say. And we love reading to them. That's kind of our go-to for them. We want them to enjoy books, and we kind of just thought, so as we go about it, I'll just start with this. As we go about our adventures, right? We go on walks, we go on things. I found myself just kind of seeing the universe again, all anew, right? That our oldest daughter would see leaves and it would blow her mind. We go to the zoo and she'd see the animals. It would blow her mind. And I started describing to her, like, these are not just arbitrary things. This place, this creation has a creator. And of course, we had been teaching her about Jesus all along. And so I thought, what if there were books that kind of connected general revelation of God's creation with the special revelation of God's word? And so we started working on these books, had them illustrated, and that's what we have here. It's called Atom Iota is the name of the books. Yeah.
I love that your journeying with your daughters really kind of gave you this idea of, man, people need to know this. It needs to go beyond our family. Let me ask you, Ryan, how old are your girls?
Our oldest is about 12 and our youngest is 2, and there's 2 in between. We have a 9-year-old and a 6-year-old.
Wow, okay, so they span the gamut. I have a 12-year-old daughter, soon to be 13 in a couple months, okay, and a newly 10-year-old daughter. And I would imagine understanding creation and God's active hand in everything that we see really shapes and forms them. As you're journeying and you started to write these books about Atom and Iota, what did you view or see as you hope to be the outcome of these stories?
Yeah, so to give you some background, so atom is the smallest unit of matter, and iota I kind of termed as the smallest unit of thought. And so they're these buddies. I'll show you a picture. Here's the book here. And they go on an adventure together. And so Adam is kind of the one who notices everything and is kind of marveling at everything, just in how it works and what it is and how wonderful things are, things like DNA, things like the human bloodstream, things like that. But Iota, being the smallest unit of thought, is the one who infuses it with meaning and says, this isn't just cool because it's unique or beautiful or whatever. It has purpose because somebody designed it to have purpose. And so my goal is to help kids to recognize that the wonderful things that they observe in creation aren't just wonderful on their own. They're wonderful because they have a creator who is wonderful and who has given them a mind to perceive that they're wonderful. And as a result, the best thing we can do is give praise to him, to give glory to him, and to have our affections stirred for him.
Amen. So true. Why do you feel, Ryan, right now that message is so critical?
Yeah, well, I mean, for our kids, it's just critical because they're kids and they need to learn that at an early age, that everything only really makes sense if we see things as God's creation, that we always keep that clear delineation that God is God, we are not. He is creator, we are creation, And that's what makes everything make sense. But for our cultural moment specifically, I mean, that's, to be honest, I think that's how our culture has gotten so sideways for so many years, is that I think that the human impulse since the fall is to try and want to be God, right? And that's the whole goal of humanism, of secular humanism, this idea that we don't really need God. God is kind of just an aside. He's a nice to have. In our public school systems, God is treated as not just non-existent, he's treated as irrelevant, right? We don't need to bring God into math. He's irrelevant to math. He's irrelevant to science. And that's really what I want to push back against, is that he's not just relevant to these topics, to every subject. He's central. Jesus Christ is central to everything we could ever study.
I love that. And I love that you have 4 daughters that you're infusing this into, because I feel like really, especially in this hour and this age, daughters, women are truly being minimized and not seen or valued as much, or like kind of almost like there's a scales and a balance, and the man weighs more than the daughter. And so I love that you have 4 daughters that you're raising in this revelation. What specifically do you hope that your daughters emerge as, like in this world? What is the one thing that you want them to contribute to the conversation in this hour and this day?
Yeah. I mean, frankly, I just want them to have an affection for God and an honor for Him and a confidence that is rooted in Him. As their father, I want to teach them. I always tell them, I take them on daddy-daughter dates, right? And that's something that we do fairly often. And every time, my one objective is just to show them how a man treats a young lady. And I always reiterate, the one thing you're looking for in a young man is that he loves God more than he loves you. And if he loves God more than he loves you, he will love you better than he ever could otherwise. And so I want them to have confidence to be able to discern, because selfishly, the type of husband they will marry, but also I want them to have confidence to just love the Lord out in the open, to follow him without shame, without fear, and wherever the Lord would lead them in that path, I'm supportive of them.
Absolutely love that. So now you and your wife have been doing this ministry, Fierce Marriage. Tell
Yeah.
us about that and how that kind of came to be.
Yeah, so we had been married. So we've been married 22 years as of now. But when we were going on 10 years married, we had seen a number of our friends get married and divorced in the span that we had been married. And then in some cases, some friends have been married and divorced twice in that 10 years. And I looked at Selena and I said, "What's different about like why are we still married? Why do we still love each other? Why do we still like each other?" And without a hesitation, we both said, "Well, it's all about Christ." And so at the time, I had been working with publishers, and so I thought, I kind of saw behind the veil. I thought, well, I think there's a space here. Someone needs to just start speaking to couples, not as a guru, not as somebody who has all the answers, but we just need to speak to couples where they're at and just share our successes, share our failures, and at every turn, point them to Christ. And so it started as a blog about, I don't know, 12 years ago, and turned into books, podcasts, all that good stuff. And the mission has stayed the same. Is just we want to point couples to Christ. We want to be transparent with them, and we don't claim to have all the answers, but we do know the one who does. And we're just going to be that voice in your ear every week that will remind you that marriage is important. Christ is king, and with him, your marriage can thrive.
Come on, it's the foundation of our nation. It's the foundation of community.
Amen.
So let me ask you, did you and your wife both know the Lord when you met each other, or how did you come to know Jesus?
Yeah, so we met when we were teenagers. So actually, I tell the story. I saw her for the first time. I think I was like 14. I was coming to her school to visit. I looked across the gymnasium, and it's like my whole world turned upside down. And of course, she had no clue I was even there. But like my whole world had changed. And so I spent like 2 years trying not to be I tried to become somebody who wasn't a dork for 2 years, so I could talk to her. So yeah, I got saved at a summer camp when I was, I think, 15 years old. The Lord radically saved me. My wife, Selena, she grew up in the church and was kind of, she didn't have a radical story like I do, but she is just grew up as a believer. And so when we started dating, I think our first conversation or defining the relationship talk, we were in the car after going, it was in the summertime. We had some s'mores around a bonfire at a friend's house, and I was taking her home, and we had this talk. and basically I told her, hey, I like you. I think we should date, but the way I phrased it was, I wouldn't be doing this if I didn't think we could get married someday. And so I think from the right at the beginning, she knew that I was in it for marriage, even though we were 16 years old. We ended up getting married at 20. Um,
Wow.
but yeah, we were both saved, and we before we started dating, and our whole relationship was kind of built around Christ. And that was one of the things that we wanted Fierce Marriage to be, is just kind of that aspect on display, is that we wanted God to use our dating life, our married life, all for His glory, ups and downs. So yeah.
Wow, I love that. And I'm sure that you've had many hills and valleys, having met at 16. I mean, still trying to learn who you are and learn more about Christ. But you journeyed together and married at 20. That is a beautiful, beautiful story, Ryan. I love it. And now, what is the role that your wife kind of plays in these children's books with Atom and Iota, and in our last few moments here?
Yeah, so she'll joke like because she was mostly my I'll say editor. So I wrote them, and we had somebody illustrate them by hand. But she was the one who at some point would axe different stanzas and things that I would write. So there's a book in the series called The Life Unfolding, and that's all about the miracle of life in the womb. And don't worry, parents, it's not graphic at all, but it's talking about life begins at conception. And at one point, I figured out how to rhyme some word with uterus, and she was gracious, but she said, "No, don't do that. That's not going to work." And so she was involved in that sense. She kind of kept me in the guardrails. So,
I love it. Well, you all are doing a beautiful work. Tell us quickly, where can we find your books?
yeah, the easiest place to find them is just at fiercemarriage.com. There's a shop button there. We're also on Amazon. And wherever else you would get your books. But yeah, fiercemarriage.com is probably the easiest place.
Wonderful. Ryan, thank you so much for being with us. And thank you for all that you're doing for marriages and now for families through your children's book. It is really remarkable. We pray blessings over you, your wife, and your beautiful 4 daughters.
Great. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Well, my next guest has worked with Fortune 500 giants like Coca-Cola and Hershey, but he's here to share why true success isn't found in the accolades. It's about something much deeper. Stay tuned.
When we're moving forward into a new season, there's a lot of transition, change, and oftentimes uncertainty. It often requires new levels of trust along with resilience and faith for our new chapters and new beginnings. I want to share something the Holy Spirit spoke to me one morning in the scripture in a still, small voice. God makes everything beautiful in its time, and that comes from the book of Ecclesiastes. This is a promise from the Creator. He will brighten and enlighten every area of your life in His divine timing. God will use your story, your circumstance, and this season, all for His glory. And this new season for you, this is what I pray, and this is what I believe God is going to do for you. May you draw closer to the heart of the Father, receive His revelation and wisdom for the days ahead in His presence, and may all you sowed in tears be reaped in joy.
You have an amazing opportunity to make a difference every day. Donate to Cornerstone Television Network now, and you'll share the gospel with seekers, inspire believers, offer wholesome family entertainment in a sea of less savory options. Plus, you're changing lives through our Cornerstone Cares outreach. Thanks to partners like you, last year you helped us reach 80 different ministries through monthly support and one-time gifts. You sparked countless stories of transformation for those who are lost, widowed, homeless, or persecuted. Let's do it again today. Please pray about supporting your Christian TV ministry with a generous contribution. Your gift will help Cornerstone Television share the life-changing love of Jesus through Christ-centered programs. Call us at 888-665-4483 or give at ctvn.org/donate. Thank you for changing lives and sharing hope with your Cornerstone Television Network.
My next guest is no stranger to success. He is a certified Maxwell Leadership Team speaker, trainer, and executive coach, and yet he is here to tell us all of the accolades really don't matter if we don't lead well. Preston, welcome to Unscripted Faith.
Good morning. Thanks for having me. Appreciate being here.
We are so excited to have you. Listen, it reminds me, when I read any of your stuff, it reminds me that, like Paul, I count it all rubbish. You've got these wonderful accolades, a beautiful resume of working with Fortune 500 companies, but you have recognized it doesn't matter how much success you have, it's really how you lead those moments. So share with me, before we dive into all of that, share with me how you came to know Jesus.
Yeah, wow, thank you. Hit right out of the gate. That's
Yes.
great. I gave my life to the Lord when I was in 8th grade. I came back from a sabbatical with my mom and dad in Madison, Wisconsin. My dad's a college professor. Came back, had a buddy invite me to a youth group, and I was a little bit of a rebel at the time, Angela. I had a Grateful Dead t-shirt on. I didn't want to be there. I wasn't sure why I was there, but I heard the gospel. And something interested me in that. And then I went a few more times and saw the belonging, the love that they had for each other, and then heard the gospel again. I think the Lord moved in my heart, drew me to Him, and that's when I bowed and prayed and gave my life to Him. Long time ago.
8th grade.
Yeah.
I love that you said you didn't want to be there, but then that love of the community, that you saw that demonstrated, and then you experienced Christ Himself. So you got saved in 8th grade, and then you went on to college. Take us through your journey of uncovering this leadership that was inside of you.
Yeah, you know, it's interesting. I was in church for all those years from 8th grade till my senior year in high school, and then something clicked in college. And I went to the University of Colorado my freshman year. And they were known as a party school, and I got into that.
Yeah, sure.
And it was hard. And through my college years, I had wandered in my faith. I really did. And there's a lot of people that are in that journey that walk away from the Lord, if they will, and serving. And I was one of those, and that was by my choice. And I remember, and I've shared this story before, to be transparent with you, I had had a bunch of alcohol the night before. I had some arguments with my girlfriend. And I remember waking up that next morning, getting sick, and actually throwing up on my Bible, of all things.
Wow.
Let that sink in for just a minute. And so I realized in that moment that something wasn't right. And so that led me to a series of decisions. And I left Colorado, where I grew up, went to college, everything else. And I left and went to Alabama, where my immediate family was. I wanted them to help me reground myself. I got back involved in church. And the Lord took me from there and brought me to where I am now. But I tell people all the time, I wish I hadn't gone through those things. But there's a purpose and a reason why I went through them. I also tell people it's like an athlete, a great athlete that's been injured. I was put into physical rehab for a while before I could get back on the field.
Come on,
right?
I like that. That's right.
And so I found my life a lot like that through my career, from college all the way into working with companies like Hershey and Coke. And the Lord really worked on me. The term sanctification, He's still working on me now. He's not done with it, I can tell you that.
Yes.
But that's kind of what happened in my life.
Wow. So, okay, so now you are in these Fortune 500 companies, you're doing the thing, but you recognize, like, okay, I've got these accolades. My resume is built, but there was something or a moment or a series of moments perhaps that led you to realize it's not about these accolades. It's actually how you lead. How did you get that revelation?
Yeah, it's a simple story. I remember having a couple associates when I was working for Coca-Cola. I was living in Knoxville, Tennessee at the time. And I was trying to make them little Prestons. I was really big on performance. And I thought that if I performed well, I was going to climb the ladder, I was going to get to the top of the organization. And so I wasn't treating them all that well, and one of them left. And then a month later, I was about to get onto a year-end conference call with them and have a performance review. And a lot of people have been through performance reviews. And the individual I'd been working with really didn't take to what I was trying to coach, teach, and train them. We didn't get along very well. And so I'm sitting there, I remember the conference table in the room, my manager's about to come in, and the phone rings, and I pick it up, and before I could even get a word in edgewise, I heard, "Preston, you're a jerk, I quit," and hung up on me right away.
Wow.
Yeah, can you imagine being sitting there like that? So what a way to start your day, right? Yeah. And so I set the phone down, and man, can you imagine two people quitting on you in a couple months?
No.
And so I stopped my manager and went back into her office, and I said, "Hey, here's what's happened." And there was this long, pregnant pause. And I'd been a top performer. I was expecting some type of, reinforcement back. It's going to be okay, Preston. But she just looked at me and said, Preston, here's the truth. You're a top performer. But if you don't get this fixed, the way you treat people and the way you're doing things, you're never going to climb the ladder in this organization. Wow. So I went back into my office after that, and I heard in the back of my head, Angela, you're a jerk, you're a jerk, you're a jerk. And from that moment on, I figured out that if some way that my faith and work weren't congruent, they weren't together.
Wow.
The way I was treating people, I actually had a sign on my desk that said people over performance. Think about that too. So if I continue to do well and perform and deliver results, that would be my path to the top. Wasn't the case. I found that out. So go ahead.
No, go ahead.
So the good news is this, in that the Lord worked in me and through me. And so it's one of those sanctification things where I surrendered. You remember I told you I gave my life to Christ when I was in 8th grade?
Yes. I
didn't surrender my career until I was in 2005. Wow. So a long stretch between that. So I bowed and I said, Lord, this isn't working. I'm very different at home with my family and at church than I am at work. It's like dog eat dog when you go there on Monday, and a lot of people are that way, right? They can't get that overlap in between the two. And I experienced that, and I come to find after a few years of working through it and many other circumstances, that's just one. I wish I could tell you that the light switch just went on and things changed in that moment. They didn't. It was about a 10-year journey before the Lord put me in positions at the company, the Coca-Cola company, to turn around and build leaders and help the organization.
Wow. But it was this little nugget that kind of the Lord offered. Didn't feel like the Lord for sure in that moment, you jerk.
Yeah.
But it really opened your eyes to be self-aware, like, hold on, what is happening here? It has to be, I have to worry about people just as much as my performance.
That's right.
And this 10-year journey really brought you into a great revelation and understanding that how you lead people will actually lead the company, will lead your life well. What are one or two of those keys that people today, because when you're mentioning about this corporate world, I've been there. I've lived it, okay? Like you said, there are some incongruencies. You know, you've got a faith walk and then you've got dog eat dog, but you've got to marry the two. So what are one or two things that people who are maybe living in that corporate setting now can kind of take away from this moment so that they marry those together better?
Sure. I tell people all the time, there was a study done by Barna in Abilene Christian University a while back. And they found that there were 3 types of Christians in the workplace. First were the compartmentalizers. Those were the ones that went to church, but they had no clue how their faith fit into work at all. And they weren't interested on that. They weren't interested in how it would fit, how they could live out their faith in the workplace. The next group in the middle were onlookers. And they were the folks that were interested in becoming what I would call a redemptive influence in the workplace. But nobody had ever shown them how to do that. And the third part were those that we call integrators. Those are the folks that are actually actively living out their faith in the workplace. Now, that's only 28%. So if I do my math right, that's like 72% aren't. And I found, and what I've discovered, Angela, is the root cause of all that is discipleship. Barna did another study. They said that only 1 in 5 Christians, maybe 2 in 5, have had somebody come and walk alongside them that have taught them how to read the Bible, how to pray, how to share their faith, and the importance of being involved in community. So can you imagine that if you're sitting in a group of 100 believers, that maybe 80 of those haven't had that experience? So I started asking the question, okay, so if people in the workplace aren't showing up as redemptive influences, glorifying God, using their talent, skills, and abilities to glorify God and His kingdom, why is that? Well, it's because the root cause is because they haven't been discipled. They don't know what it looks like to live that faith out in the workplace. And so those are the lessons that I learned because I really didn't have that somebody in the workplace to say, hey, here's how you integrate your faith. I had great mentors at church, great disciplers at church. I had some really good mentors at work too. But that overlap, I just didn't get. And that's what sent me on that journey to figure that out.
Wow, I love that you're stepping into that gap because I never, until now that you're sitting here, I never quite considered the fact that these wonderful businessmen within our churches, you know, they are being discipled in church. You see the discipleship, and they have mentors in the workplace or even, you know, spiritual men who are like leading them, but it's not quite marrying in that workplace. And I feel like, honestly, that we see that even in the world. You know, so much of the church and the bride is like, yeah, I'm at church, this is my faith. But when it comes to interacting with people on a real like rubber meets the road, this is life, that you're seeing a missing piece of real relevant faith. So tell me, what are you doing that's helping us to find that balance?
Sure. I think one thing I learned in this whole thing is that I needed to shift the way I saw people.
Yeah.
Instead of helping me accomplish what I wanted to accomplish, I started to see them as made in the image of God.
Yeah.
The imago Dei, if you will, that theological term.
Yes.
And so it's funny, Angela, I had somebody that was not of the faith, totally different lifestyle, but he was a vice president. And he one day pulled me aside and said, you know, the one thing that we need more of in the workplace is dignity and respect for the other person. And so what I'm trying to help people do through the work that I'm doing is to help see people differently, help see people in the light that they're made in the image of God, that they have something valuable to offer, that they have tremendous potential, and then help build trust, help people understand how to care for each other, how to collaborate. And it's so fraught right now in the workplace.
It's fraught everywhere in our culture. And it seems so basic, right? I mean, this seems like, Preston, this seems like, oh yeah, of course, everyone's made in the image of God. Like, that's how we're supposed to treat the golden rule, you know? But we've lost that. What do you feel like has caused that chasm, like there? What has been the eroding force behind us losing the image of God of others?
Well, great question. So I think the way I look at this is, at least in the workplace, which I can speak to, and then obviously you can translate that into other areas, but we've been so focused on results. And so we're teaching managers really what to accomplish. We give them all kinds of models. Just like me, I had a business degree, an MBA. I've got all of these different things in my head about how to manage. But you've got to remember that it's the people that you're working with to accomplish something. And I know that's common sense. This has been going on for thousands of years, right? But during our generation, it's so important to say, okay, wait a second, let's step back for a minute and figure out why people are struggling in the workplace. Why are they disengaged? Why are they not giving their best? It's because their manager typically doesn't care about them. They're not trustworthy, or they may not be able to help them. And so if I can shine a light and help people understand, if they can focus on those things and be empathetic toward others, care about their development, care about helping them along their path, taking your eyes off yourself and putting it on others, that will help your entire organization, not just yourself.
That is so good. And it really does take it from being all about me to seeing the whole picture, just like Jesus taught us. Preston, your words of wisdom are remarkable. And I really pray that people watching today, that you all can take this and run with it, apply it to your life. Preston, thank you for being with us today on Unscripted Faith, and for all that you're doing to disciple businessmen and women, and all of us really in this world.
Thank you, Angela. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Ooh, listen, today, take that into the world. Look and see people and the image of God within them. It's not just how you're performing. It's not what you just have to do, your list and your to-dos. But look and see where you can call out the gold in someone else and elevate them into the goodness that the Lord has for them even now.
Cornerstone Television wishes to thank all our faithful viewers whose consistent prayers and financial support have made this program possible.